Hi everybody. So I wanted to make a quick video to help you with the Unit 3 assignment. So I'm going to go through this assignment quickly to give you some more details about how to write it. So of course, so just as a heads up, when I converted this sample from PDF to Word or to Google Docs, it messed up a little bit of the formatting, but you can still follow this as an example, and what I will say will also help you. So first, make sure that the everything is in memo format. So date to, from, subject. When I converted this from PDF, this date got moved around, but obviously the date would go up here, and then to and from, just conclude those details. For the project overview, so just super quickly, do not just write this as text, like as just as paragraphs. That's not helpful and that's not in the right format. If you don't use the format that I've shown you, then unfortunately you will not get credit for the assignment. So please just do it correctly. For the project overview, um, so as context, let me just go over that. So units 2, 3, and 4, and everything that I'm going to say, I've already written in the at a glance documents, and it's already covered in the textbook, but this is just a refresher. Units 2, 3, and 4 are on the same project. Unit 2 was the business research proposal, where you outlined what the business problem is. We know that the business problem is related to the need to buy new computers for the new hires. So that's our business problem. Everything that you write about should be related to that directly. So keep that in mind. So in Unit 2, you wrote what the problem was and gave context and explained why it's important to perform this research. If you look at the top of the Unit 3 assignment description, there are some comments about now where you are in the process. So Unit 2, you have laid out the proposal and you sought approval to conduct this research. For Unit 3, you have gained approval from your manager to conduct the research, and now you're at the point where it's time to give an update on what you have been doing to conduct the research. That's the purpose of the progress report. You're reporting on your progress of what you promised to do in Unit 2 as far as the research tasks are concerned. So everything you write should be within that context. So keep that in mind. The purpose, so let's take a look at the project overview, the work completed, and the work to be completed, and the conclusion sections. So your document can be 1 to 2 pages. Most people can definitely make it 1 to just a little bit of a second page. It should not be longer than 2 pages. I know that the example in the book is much longer, but because the context of this business problem is a little bit more narrow than what is shown in the textbook, that's why you can pretty much guarantee that you can get the document to 1 to 2 pages. So that's part of the reason why I chose this as a topic, to make it a little bit more manageable for the time that you have to write these documents. So let's go over the project overview section. So at this point, you can pause the video and read this, and I'll be back with an explanation. Okay, so if you had to pause it, I hope you read it. And now let me go through what you need to know. So basically, the project overview can be just like one paragraph. Actually, when I converted this, it messed up a little bit of the person's formatting. But basically, you only need just one paragraph to give a project overview. So explain the purpose, mention what's going on with the newly hired people and who they are. Um, 1 to 2 sentences to explain why the research is necessary, and just a very quick overview as a reminder to the reader what this project is about. That's all should be in your project overview. I've seen some people wrote something like they're like, if this research is approved and or something in the project overview, and that's not right, because like what I just said, unit 2, you outlined the problem, you sought approval to go with the research project. Unit 3, the context is that you have received approval, you have started research, and you're providing an update about the progress. Okay, so if you write something like, I am still seeking approval for this project or something, I will know that you didn't listen to this video. That you're not reading the examples and following the directions, because it's like so clear. Several times this is mentioned, the context of what this document is. If you still have questions about that, make sure to email me. Work completed. So this is related to the tasks that you wrote about on your Unit 2 document. So everything here in the work completed and work to be completed sections should be directly related to the tasks that you said you would complete on your Unit 2 document. So let's take a look. So this person wrote that they began studying the available literature on laptops to better understand laptop usage, blah, 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 collect notes, blah, blah, blah. So this is saying basically that they're starting with general research to get a general understanding, which is fine. So this person is beginning with what we would call secondary research. Then they would take that information and start their primary research. So you may flip back and forth between primary and secondary research, but this is one way to do it and one way to talk about it. So starting out with just getting a basic understanding, that's secondary research. Primary research is when you are collecting information directly from a source that is connected to the problem. And we do that through interviews and through surveys. So this person, to kind of give you a whole story of all of this, they started by reading some articles just to kind of get an idea of what they should be researching specifically. They took that information and then wrote interview questions, took those interview questions and interviewed 7 people that's employed at the company. So make sure that anytime you talk about interviews and surveys, it's people that are employed within the company. Then, after they finished those interviews, then they took that information and wrote a survey. So with the survey, they sent it out to the AS employees that are relevant to get more information about what they're currently struggling with their devices, and they can use that information to help support whatever recommendation they make in the Unit 4 document, which is the feasibility report. So similarly for you in your work completed section, it should be something like this, and it needs to be something that's logical. I've seen a lot of people say like the first thing that they've done is to choose which computer to recommend, and that does not make logical sense. You can't make a recommendation or choose a device until you have more information about what the specific needs are. And you get information by conducting the interviews and the surveys, which is considered the primary research. The primary research and secondary research is all outlined in the textbook. Those definitions are all outlined in the textbook. So if you haven't read that, make sure you go back and read that, because understanding how the research works is a big part of understanding what to write in these documents. Again, this is a logical story, a logical progression of things that would be done in a research project. work to be completed. So we're looking for the next logical thing that would be done. So imagining that you have information from the people you've interviewed and your survey, and you are working towards the goal of knowing what to recommend as far as the device is concerned, then the next logical thing would be to create a criterion or a checklist of what you've found out. So for example, if you are surveying a group of, let's see, software engineer, no. I will say a group of graphic designers. And you found out after your interview and your surveys that the graphic designers need a computer that has a large amount of RAM or something like that. Please excuse the bells and things going on in the background. But if you found that out through your primary research, then you would take that information and basically make a list. Okay. So for example, the executive said that we have X8, like we need to be able to use these softwares. The ASM employees said they need to be able to do these things. You combine that information into what this student is calling a criterion, but you can also call it a checklist. So that way you have guidance on what devices you'll research in order to make a recommendation. Exactly what they're saying in the next part. So once we've established the best laptops to purchase, again, using the information that they received from their primary and secondary research, they say we plan to schedule phone calls and meetings with wholesale laptop vendors to determine the cost and cost-saving procedures. So again, think about this in real life terms. If you have ever purchased a computer, if you go to Best Buy or call Best Buy, I usually go. So if you go to Best Buy, you can't just walk in and say, I need a computer for nurses. That doesn't mean anything to them. Like, they can't help you. What is helpful is if you have a list of what software programs you plan to run, how you're going to use the computer. You have other considerations. For example, does the computer need to be mobile, a laptop, or can it be a desktop? Can the computer be heavy, or does it need to be lightweight? Does the computer need a big screen, or can it have a small screen? Do you just need a touchpad type thing like an iPad or whatever? But the purpose of creating this criterion and doing the interviews and the surveys is to gather all of that information. So when you go to research which laptop to purchase or recommend to purchase more specifically, you have support, you have an understanding of what you're looking for. It's kind of like going to buy a car. You can't just go to the dealership and say, give me a car. They're going to say, well, what are you going to use the car for? Are you going to use it to go off-roading? Or are you going to use it to like drag trailers, or are you going to do you want a sports car? There's all these options, but you have to think about that and make a list, get information about what the need is before you go research what to buy and before you recommend what to buy in Unit 4. So I hope that explanation is helpful. It's been explained in like the book and in other places, but I just want to reiterate that, because if you don't put these tasks in a logical order, then the document is not going to make sense and you're not going to get a good grade on the document. So I hope that makes sense. If you want to send me like a few of your bullets via email and I can give you some feedback and help you with that as far as your understanding, please feel free to do that. Please don't do it wrong and then turn it in, get a bad grade, and then say, hey, can I redo it? Because the answer is no. Just, you can reach out to me before you turn in wrong information. So I hope that's helpful. For the conclusion, the conclusion is pretty simple. So the conclusion is basically wrap up and give a brief overview of, hey, this is what we've done so far. These are the issues that we've run into, or everything is on track for budget to meet this research project within budget and on time. You're just basically giving the reader an update, a basic update of what they should get ready to expect when they read the feasibility report, which is Unit 4. So once we have collected all information on the best laptop to purchase, blah, 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 we will present a recommendation report, a firm course of action. That's perfect. It's just like, this is what we're doing. This is what you can expect in the future. Our goal is to recommend the best laptop to purchase without overspending, so we may be informed of any future purchases as well. Perfectly fine. The one thing that needs to be added to this document, though, so like I said, this is a student example. It's not perfect. For the work to be completed section, they do need to include the date that this report will be written, which is the feasibility report, which is Unit 4. So you would just space down, add a date right here where this cursor is, and then write about analyzing the survey and interview data and make a recommendation based on writing the recommendation report, which is also called the feasibility report. So that's all that this sample is really missing. So that's it. I hope that's helpful. Top things, I suppose: context. Make sure everything that you're writing is about the right business problem, and within the context that you are providing a report on the progress of the research that you promised to do. You need to make sure that you are rereading what you're writing and correcting errors. You can always set up a time with the writing center to have someone go over your document with you. Please don't turn in a document that's like with confusing writing and grammatical errors and all this stuff. It's a writing course. Your writing needs to be flawless. And make sure that the third thing is just to make sure that the content is in a logical sense, like what I've explained. Make sure it tells like a logical story, a logical way of doing things. You can pretend that this is real life, and that will help you with understanding what would be logical to do in real life and in what order. So I hope that it has been helpful. Email me if you have questions. Thanks. Have a good day.